The IS-7 is a Tier 10 Soviet heavy tank, and currently it is one of the most popular tanks in the game. Not only is it extremely popular, but it also has the best performance on win rate in the game. Now, why is that? Well, it's a combination of everything. It has Big Alpha at 460, but the vehicle's also fast. It goes 50 kilometers per hour, and then finally, it has insane frontal armor. The upper plate is strong enough that you need to load premium ammunition to penetrate it. Good luck if you're in a medium. The lower plate is also extremely thick, and the sides are, I would say, the hardest to penetrate in Tier 10 just because of how inconsistent they are on actually penetrating shells. When you add all those together, it's no doubt in your mind why the IS-7 is incredibly strong. So when we pull out a vehicle like the Object 260, which is also another Soviet Tier 10 heavy tank, but it's actually faster. Sure, its top speed is 3 slower, but it has a power-to-weight ratio of 20, which is way better than the IS-7's power-to-weight of 18.0, because this vehicle averages a top speed of 32, and this vehicle can average upwards of 35. And I'll definitely tell you from experience, the 260 is way more mobile because its terrain resistance is through the roof. Its gun is also better. It has 2,800 damage per minute, and that's obviously with me running calibrated shells. You can get this close to 3,000. It's got really good accuracy, great aiming time. There's nothing bad about the Object 260. It even has more penetration than the IS-7. So what is the issue? Why is this not the most popular Tier 10 in the game? Well, there are two reasons. First of all, this vehicle does cost money to get your hands on, but so does the T-22 medium, and that's another extremely popular medium tank that is kind of an IS-7 just turned into a medium if you actually think about it, kind of weirdly enough. So let's take a look at the armor of the Object 260. It's quite red, isn't it? Well, there's a bit of a catch. This is the Object 260 on World of Tanks PC, and as you'll notice frontally on PC, its upper plate is upwards of 346. That means that even if we get at a heavy tank, let's say like an IS-4, and you load heat shells, you still, wait, we didn't click on the IS-4, gotta scroll back up. If we click on the IS-4, we load heat, it still has no chance of penetrating the vehicle. Just using your 6 degrees, the tank is completely red. And it's not like the turret has many weak spots either. At weakest, it's about 366 millimeters thick, and judging on PC that you can't run Cali, the 340 mils of pen has no chance of cutting through. This is the Object 260 on World of Tanks PC. Now let's compare it on Blitz. Well, this is an IS-7, and this is it aiming at the 260. I mean, it's not even a close comparison. In World of Tanks PC, it has 340 millimeters of base upper plate armor. On Blitz, it's 228. That's horrific. Unless you're using full gun depression, it's not going to be bouncing anything. And let's get that exact same comparison out. Let's go for the IS-4, load heat shells, oh yeah, and then put on Cali. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's not great. Not only is the upper plate incredibly weak, but the turret cheeks, which were 360, are now 278. It's literally 100 millimeters less. Because of that, the Object 260 is not a heavy tank. It's a medium. It's got great power to weight. It's mobile, fantastic reverse speed, but it can't tank anything because it has no armor. So that is the real killer of this vehicle, is its own armor profile. It's terrible. Even the side armor, sure, it looks hard to pen, but that's because we're using heat. AP's gonna cut right through it, no problem. The spaced armor, sure, it can be troll, but it's not hard to just aim at the sides. There's no angled bits whatsoever. The sides are horrific. The side of the turret is incredibly weak, only at 165 at this angle here. It's just not a great vehicle. So weirdly enough, these statistics of the Object 260 are really good. It's got great mobility, it's got a fantastic gun on regards to accuracy, plenty of pen, everything you'd want for a Russian heavy tank on the gun and mobility it has. But then on the opposite, you go to the armor and the gun depression and it has absolutely nothing going for it. So it creates this weird perspective where if you understand how to play this tank or you do it right, it can be amazing. But most of the time you kind of get bullied, your team falls apart, and that's the end of the vehicle. And yeah, it definitely seems like that a lot of the battles I played in it today. Mastery badges are usually quite hard to get. In fact, they're probably one of the hardest badges to get in the game. You have to do either a massive chunk of damage or something that'll give you a high amount of XP. As you'll read here, earn more XP in a battle than the average highest XP of 99% of players who have fought in this tank in the previous 7 days. That is a huge percentile. You have to do the top 1%. However, the funny part is when I played my Object 260 today, 5,000 damage, that's an ace. Now 5,000 damage for an ace, yeah, I guess that's a decent chunk of damage, especially for a vehicle that not many people play. So that one makes okay sense. But then I did a 4,000 damage ace. Didn't really block anything, didn't kill many opponents. Now this is starting to get weird. That's a pretty low damage ace. And then I get a 3,000 damage ace. This game really had nothing special in it. I shot opponents. You can see I barely even got any badges at the top of my screen. But there you go, a golden M sitting right in the middle. And then we keep going up. Oasis Palms, 4,000 damage ace. And the final one, Dynasties, another 4,800 damage ace. This vehicle, I managed to get 5 aces in, maybe even more. I didn't look at all the other battles. Out of the 12 or so I played in it, I have basically a 50% ace rate out of a tank in tier 10, which is kind of absurd when you think about it. So about 5 hours ago, I finished my 12 battles, and I sat to myself thinking, well, this is a tank that I know from personal experience I have hated at certain gaming sessions. I remember when I played this tank for about 30 battles, and I was so mad at how the teams were playing and how little this tank could carry, that I made a video complaining about how much I hated this tank and the teams that I was getting. I was really, really angry. But here I am, 12 battles in a row, 85% win rate, getting masteries out the kazoo, and averaging 3,700 damage. And I'm caught in this crosshair. Do I hate this tank, or do I like this tank? What is the thing that's making it tick? I probably spent about 10 or 15 minutes trying to think about why I was doing so well in the vehicle. And then, like a nice warm shower, a brainwave popped into my head, and I've come up with 2 reasons now to why I'm doing well. The first reason is Supremacy. I don't ever play Supremacy, or at least I didn't used to play Supremacy. I started watching Fatness content, and I didn't know he played Supremacy. I always thought a lot of the really skilled players just did encounter only, because nobody likes losing on base cap. It kind of sucks. So I always did encounter only. But I started watching a lot of good players on what game modes they played, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try out Supremacy. And I think my win rate when I started playing encounter only for the last 5 years, at my peak was about 73, 74%. As soon as I swapped to Supremacy, it has gone this month to 81%. It is a massive shift in win rate. My average damage has also shifted massively up. So the first thing that I honestly think is that Supremacy has made a huge difference in the opportunities I have for this vehicle. Because, first of all, in Encounter, a lot of times teammates don't know where they're going. And how many times have you played on Encounter, let's say like a map like Himmelsdorf, the enemy team goes A side, your team goes D side, and you go ring around the rosy for about 5 battles. That doesn't happen in Supremacy. You get evidence and knowledge that you wouldn't ever get in Encounter, because when somebody goes into a base, you can not only guess by how quick that tank got to that base what vehicle it is, but then you can make judgments on where you're going to push your vehicle based on those ideas. So because the 260 is such a fast vehicle, you're able to make these decisions and actually perform them, unlike normal heavy tanks. And that's where I've actually started really enjoying this vehicle on Supremacy. As well, I'm running it in platoons. I don't normally drive vehicles in platoons, I'll be honest. And when I do, I usually just drive the normal average tanks, because I don't really like to pull out the obscure ones just in case they're going to tank our win rate, and we're not going to have a fun time, because as we all know, platoons are for fun. But I pulled out the 260 because I thought it would be a bit of fun, try it out, see how it works out. And yeah, it worked great because I actually had something that could hold the line. If you get a good teammate and, your teammate knows what he's doing, is able to hold heavy tanks, and you use a vehicle like the Object 260 or any lightly armored mobile heavy tank, let's say like a T-57 heavy, like that one there, imagine you have a teammate that takes the shell for you, and then boom, you get the shells in. That's just great. I think that honestly, that was one of the major reasons, is I just wasn't running the vehicle in platoon. So yeah, I don't know. I just thought I'd make a video talking about this tank and how I've kind of weirdly shifted my opinion on it, because obviously I want to let you guys know and keep you informed on what tanks I think are good and what tanks aren't. Now, do I think this tank is still good, and do I think you should ever buy it? No. I do not. This is not me shilling for Wargaming. I do not like the vehicle. I do not think that the average player will do well in the tank, as we saw by the mastery badges. And yeah, it's definitely just not one of those tanks you want to drive for a normal Sunday afternoon. It's got its fair share of downsides, but if you can make the downsides work, it does do a pretty good job. We're up to 4,100 damage in this game. We got the Yo, but I want to shoot this Mark 6 with an HE. Boom, 4,600 damage. Although, if you noticed, this was a 5,000 damage game, so how come I'm at 1,800 hit points and I'm not about to be? Well, Well, this Yo's over here. I'm going to get one shell in, and he's going to shoot me with the 2-shot gun for 923. And, well, yeah, we had just a whole plethora of enemies roll up on me. We had the Jagdpanzer on the front. We had that Yo get the 2 shells in, and with that combined on the M60 on the rear, unfortunately, it just ended in my demise. But that's what happens to the 260. If you get caught in a situation where you will be penned, you will be. Not a single tank bounced me in this game. But I was able to use the mobility, and because my toonmate, who's Flossie is a great toonmate, because he was able to do his job, hold the enemy off while I was doing that, I was able to farm, I was able to help out, and this game surprisingly comes out as a victory. You're going to watch this be one of the most stressful battles you've ever seen, because Flossie gets demolished, and the enemy's up on base cap. They're up to 900 now. We're at 750. Our mouse, yeah, we're just not going to bother looking at him. So what ends up happening is our Yo pushes over to base B. They're up to 920 on the cap now, and we're up to 860, so we are still way behind. But if we do end up capturing base B, we will win if our teammates stay alive. The issue is we have a 183 who's still trying to be aggressive with 400 health. If this M60 as simply as kills this 183, that is a loss. I don't know why the M60 honestly didn't just rush the 183 or try to get a shot in somehow. He did get the first one in, and all he needs is one more shot. We're up to 950 on the base cap. They're at 980. Oh, it's getting close. It's getting close here. Oh, he misses. Okay, we're up to 980 on the base cap now. M60, he's about to kill him. Oh, he kills him, but we hit 1,000 right before the M60 gets the kill. Because of base cap, we were able to win that battle. And when you're in a vehicle like the Object 260, as you noticed in the beginning of the game, I immediately got into the base cap the moment I could. If you were in another heavy, I wouldn't have gotten there as fast. And you could say that another heavy could have gotten there like an IS-7, pretty close to that same speed. But guess what? We won that battle by a literal hair on my chinny chin. If there was half of a second longer to get into that base I did at the beginning of the battle, we would have lost this game. And that is a perfect example of where mobility can and easily win games in Supremacy. That was an insane battle. All right. Showing one battle is very, very rare. That could have happened for any vehicle, and I could have said it was the tank that got into the base. However, when it's 2 battles, especially 2 battles played within 12 games, now we're starting to get somewhere. So let's see how this battle is won. The enemy team has a Leopard 1, a Sheridan, and a WZ-121. That's a lot of mobile tanks. You'd think that they have the ability to reset base captures and win on Supremacy, or at least not lose on Supremacy. Well, we're going to find out if that happens, because the bases on Hellas are over towards heavy side, and right now, I've spotted a 57 heavy. I was able to get a ricochet off of my upper plate because I angled it perfectly at the last moment, so we've already done 370 damage to the 57, and we've bounced a shell, surprisingly, in the Object 260. Because I'm so fast, I was able to get into position and stop that 57 heavy from getting into base A. And now, because the player's driving off, judging that most of his team is over towards C-side, I'm going to get in the base A and capture it. I mean, this is just what you can do in a vehicle like the 260. And look how much faster I get into the base than my toonmate in the 60 TP. He's getting into it. Now he gets into the base. I've already captured half of it by the time his tank gets there. So we're already up to 365 on the base capture. Now we're up to 380, and we've got 2 bases capped. This battle, even if our team completely blows it over on C-side, we're going to be way up on base capture. And if they want to win this, they have to deal with us as well on A and B. So that's great news for the team. I guess we're going to have to see how it does work out. We got the Hori off to the side. There's the 1-2-1. I'm trying to think of what I want to do here. I get one easy shell out early, but I was just thinking, okay, we need to push in. I told Flossie, we need to get in there now because our team is not doing great. So he snaps a shell into the Hori, and we start pushing as quickly as we can. Already we're down 3 vehicles, but we are up on base cap, and we're going to continue going up on base cap even if all of our teammates die. So there's a nice tap right into the Hori. I might not have a lot of gun depression, but at least I do have at least a slight amount to cut through that Hori. So here we go again, aiming it on the Hori. I don't even care if the guy shoots me. Now he's a one-shot because I max roll him. I want to clear this tank destroyer. It's not only going to cut through me like butter, but it's going to cut through any of my teammates and hit really hard. So I want to clear him as quickly as possible so we don't have to deal with him later. Flossie's pushing up, and while he's doing that, I'm going to take advantage of this Leopard 1 getting a shell in. I'm going to push up, making sure that Hori cannot hit me driving down, but as well I don't want to be hit by this Leopard. So I'm trying to multitask, trying to figure out what I'm going to do, but Hori gets taken out because he tries shooting me, and Flossie gets an easy shell in. Even though this battle is still not looking completely in our favor, Now we're up to 765 on the base cap. And I'm trying to think, well, what do I want to do? I get a shell into the Leopard. I was thinking, meh, I'm not going to shoot the HE, not going to risk it. So we get a shell into the Leopard, get a nice bounce from the Sheridan on the side. And with that, we're up to 2,400 damage dealt and 800 on the base capture. I mean, it's insane how quickly I've managed to ramp up these base points. It's a 2 versus 5 now. I mean, think about how bad our team has done this battle. But because I'm mobile enough to capture the bases, do what I need to, we're still winning. So now I was thinking, wouldn't it be funny if I captured this base as well? So I got an easy shot into the K91, and this Sheridan, I honestly don't know what his plan was. I think maybe he was worried that I did have the shot, so I'm capturing the base, and I thought I would get it captured, but I guess not. Just kind of bad luck there. But now it's a 1 versus 3. And even though their team has 3 vehicles that are quite low in hit points, I could die. That 57 heavy alone could play smart and kill me, especially because that gets an unlucky bounce. If that 57 heavy was a good player, or just knew what he was doing and the other mediums got around me, I easily could have lost that battle because I don't have any armor. But because we captured bases at the beginning, guess what? I came out with a 3,000 damage victory. That is just what the Object 260 can do. And yeah, that game, you could have done that in another heavy tank, but you also would not have been able to get in the position and support your team nearly as fast. So I think the 260 can be a great tank for winning, especially if you put it in a game mode like Supremacy, where you need that mobility, and other heavy tanks really just can't fork it up. Do I think this is a good tank? As I said before, nah, I wouldn't ever suggest to buy this tank. I would highly suggest any other tier 10 over this, maybe a Badger below it, but apart from that, I really wouldn't ever suggest to get the 260. But I thought, maybe I'll make a video on it, talk about why this is one of those tanks that, weirdly, has started winning battles ever since I changed how I play. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.